Damn. Yeah, damn is basically the best summary of arguably Bleach's best backstory. Now, granted, have we seen a lot of great backstories in just Thousand Year Blood War alone? Yes, but it could be recency bias. I don't know anymore because the entirety of Core 3 has been like twice as good as like Core 1 and 2 combined, if you ask me. It just feels like it's this not even steady incline. It's just like they're sprinting up Mount Everest without any harness. I don't know how, but week after week they keep dropping shit. And in this week's episode, we get Bazz and Jugo. And I wasn't really expecting anything much. I was like, oh, okay, yeah, let's see what they do. This is the episode titled Friend. And the sick bastards had the audacity, after it looks like Bosby's no longer alive, to show Friend, but highlight the END in red. It's clever as shit. But to see the backstory, and how, the fact that Bosby was the one who was always almost like holding his hand, helping him, together we'll go and we'll kill this Quincy King, only for Bosby to be left behind, and still trying his best only to be cut down and finally accepting the fact that he has lost. I've seen a lot of anime and just stories in general do this kind of like person thought they were special but it was actually someone else. It's nothing new. And even when this was originally wrote in the manga, it still wasn't anything new. It's been happening for countless generations of storytelling. But the way Bleach handled it does come across as something that is new and interesting. And I really like this episode. And apparently we're getting a double episode next week to wrap up Core 3. I don't think any of us are going to be ready for Core 4 when we get it sometime next year. I got those full live reactions over on Patreon if you want to see my mind break in real time to this Bleach greatness. It's over there exclusively. So, wasn't really sure what to expect. They pretty much immediately kick it off and they dedicate the whole episode to these two. And, something I do appreciate about Core 3 a lot is there's not a lot of flip-flop in between perspectives when important shit's happening. I mean, these types of shows, and you can look at Bleach as well, there's a large cast of characters, and you look at previous arcs, they do flip-flop around a lot more. Now sometimes you get like that one focus, like, okay, this is an important moment, Ichigo's doing this, or we need to really focus. But I don't know, like, I'm not a huge fan. I much prefer it when a show with like such a large cast like this, week after, like, I don't care if it takes me 6 weeks to come back to Ichigo. If it means dedicating and getting this story out of the way, then the next one, and then the next one. Not because, like, they're pointless, but just, I don't know, it's easier to remember and to keep up to date with all the details when you're just focusing on a couple of characters that you don't always see all too often, and we might not see again ever, or maybe for another 6 episodes past this. But I would much rather get through all these moments and make it feel like the cast is incredibly large, living and breathing, and it's bigger than just the Ichigo story where he's gonna cut down the Quincy King and everyone's gonna sing his praise. No, like, also show all the years of buildup where you have two people like this whose entire purpose was to kill this man, and now the one person who had the ability all these years to probably do so never did. Now, granted, it'd be one hell of a bait and switch if he's just been waiting for his opportunity, but I highly doubt it. But it is possible. It's not entirely improbable, just unlikely right now. So I like the directing choices, and I especially like how really go back and just even skim, I don't know, maybe like say like the past 6 episodes of like big fights, and then compare the fight we got this episode. The best way for me to describe this is it's almost like each fight scene had a different action director and person behind it. And not because it's inconsistent visually, but because every single fight in this core of Thousand Year Blood War has been so freaking distinct that it literally feels like real living and breathing people with their own personalities behind even their fight styles. Because whether it's this episode with the bouncing around hand-to-hand combat mixed with classical sword swings, to the shit we've been seeing in the past weeks where you got like monstrosities from the pits of hell. I don't know, like every fight, it just almost feels like, in a way, like the way sometimes video game writers go about things, where if you have a large assortment of main characters, usually there's a writer behind each character. Yeah, there's like an overall writer who kind of like makes sure it all links together elegantly, but it almost feels like every single fight has a unique action director that was able to give it their all, so it comes across as completely polished, but I don't know, it just, they always feel different, and I love it. Like, the consistency and the uniqueness to not only the storytelling, but also the action choreography is freaking fantastic. The flashback was good. It was really good. There was a couple of shots that actually gave me Attack on Titan vibes, especially that one shot with the face where, like, the story was playing as, like, almost like a reflection. Just immediately gave me AOT vibes, and I loved it. But it was really interesting and very heartbreaking, because at face value, he was at least physically abused, but please tell me I'm not the only one who assumed there was more than physical abuse, if you catch my drift. So, when they first meet up, right, he's like, hey, you're gonna be my underling, I'm gonna train you. And then, apparently his uncle, it could actually be an uncle, and if so, that's even worse, but I just don't get the impression it was. So at one point, like, he's holding, like, you can see, like, bruises all down his tricep, shoulders, like, he was clearly getting beat. And this, I assume, fat bastard pops up behind him. We don't actually physically see what he looks like, but his vibe and his voice gave me ugly bastard, fat bastard vibes. And I don't know what it was, but his VA gave me sexual predator vibes. Like, the way he was, like, slurping his saliva, I don't, for this man's sake, I hope it was just physical violence, but I think there was sexual violence there too, but that's just my feelings. Either way, kid definitely was through a lot of shit, and then they lose everything, and then they stick together, and, you know, the fact that he's training them. I think everyone collectively, like, ignore knowing what we know at face value with who's actually working with the Quincy King, right? We knew, if you've seen enough anime, that, of course, Bazz was not going to get selected. But I truly figured the way, because this is how it would normally go for these shows, he would challenge this dude to a fight, and obviously Jugo would be the one to probably save him, use his sword or something. Instead, no, they went way cooler and more badass with it. So, old Yokai Watch decides to pop up, everyone gets thrown to the ground because of his presence. It essentially has the equivalent of gravity magic, just his presence is that big dick energy. And of course, the one person who didn't bow, outside of his general guards, of course, is Jugo. And that's how he got chosen. And the fact that even, because usually in this moment too, Bazz would just then be jealous and hate him. Of course that was building up, but even then he was still trying to push the, like, no, you should actually pick him. He should be your right-hand man. Just, that friendship was so good, and the fact that it ends quickly with his arm getting cut off, erupting like a volcano, and his reaction when he was screaming was probably one of the most genuine I just got a limb cut off sounds I've heard, and seemingly death. Brilliant episode, another 10 out of 10 one if you ask me. Production way better than the past two cores, and the past two cores were good, but I don't know, core 3 is a different beast, and potential for core 4 to be even crazier. Let me know your thoughts and feelings down below. Do you agree this is the best backstory, or do you have a different one? Your thoughts. Be sure to leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new around here, of course ring that bell, and like I mentioned, we got those full live reactions over on Patreon, and hey, while you're over there, I'll also give you a video shout out. Alright, so today we got here in 12, Sean Cafferkey, Jessica L. Compton, Ishta, Eternally Lost, Mauve, Jarl Balgruff, Omar, and we also have Jay Vorty. So I appreciate the support, everyone. Please take care, and y'all have a good one.